Imagine a tree that produces not only delicious fruit, but is easy to grow and looks absolutely stunning in the garden. I'm talking about a variegated pink lemon tree. Yes, you heard me right, you can grow pink lemons. If I had to pick one fruit tree for everyone to grow, I think I would pick this one. I bought mine on a whim several years ago and I have never regretted it since. So in this video, I'm going to share 4 reasons why I think you should grow one too. This is my variegated pink lemon tree. It's probably about 4 to 5 years old, and I bought it kind of on a whim. Well, actually, I didn't buy it, my husband bought it. So what happened was I sent him to the garden center to get a particular thing. I needed a new Meyer lemon tree because we lost one in the freeze. And I figured, well, if I send him, then there's gonna be less likelihood that he's gonna come home with a bunch of extra plants like I probably would. Well, then he comes home and he had seen this guy and was completely smitten by it and knew I would be too. So he very rightly made the decision to go ahead and buy an extra plant. And it was this pink variegated lemon tree, and no regrets. I had no idea that it was going to become one of my favorite trees that I have. And one of the things I love about it is kind of the obvious one. It's absolutely beautiful. Obviously, it's variegated. It has those multiple colors in the leaves. And if you look, you can see kind of on this branch that the younger leaves have a lot more of this yellow-white edging with some dark and lighter green splotches. And then as the leaves mature, they become more green and have just a little bit of the yellow around the edges. But the variegation is very mottled looking, almost like camo. It looks really cool and it really stands out from the rest of the garden. And to top it off, I mean, these leaves are beautiful, but when it just begins to grow, especially in the springtime and there's a whole flush of new growth all over the plant, the new growth is sort of a pinkish purple. So if you can just imagine the whole tree covered with just this really pretty pinkish purple blush of the new leaves, and eventually they grow and they become more like these lighter leaves and then darken as they get older, but it's so pretty. This pink variegated lemon tends to flower mostly in the spring. That's when you'll see the biggest flush of blooms, and then harvest time is now, late fall into winter. So for me, where I live in Zone 8B, these lemons are just about ready to pick, and we're right at the beginning of November. So this is the month that I'll probably harvest most of these lemons. And speaking of the fruit actually makes this extra beautiful because it doesn't look like a typical lemon, although those are lovely. But in this case, the fruits are striped. We have a yellow lemon, but with these really distinct green stripes. It's like the fruit is variegated as well as the tree. And the neat thing about it is that these stripes appear right from the very beginning. When you first have baby lemons on the tree, you'll see this striping pattern all throughout the season as the lemons grow and mature. Now you might be wondering, where is the pink part? Well, the pink part comes when you cut open the lemon, and I'm going to show you toward the end of the video what these look like on the inside, but they're really beautiful, kind of medium pale pink inside, and it just makes it one of the most beautiful fruit trees you'll ever grow. The next reason I really like this tree is because it's unusual. It's a conversation piece. I mean, it stands out from everything else in the garden. And it also has a little bit of an unusual story. So this tree is also called, by the way, it's called a pink lemonade tree, or it's called a zebra tree. I've seen that because of the obvious zebra stripes on the lemons. But it's also called a pink Eureka lemon. And that's because it's actually a type of Eureka lemon. And Eureka lemons are one of the most popular lemon varieties. It's the one that's the most commonly grown commercially, and if you buy a lemon in the store, it's probably a Eureka lemon. But the story goes that somewhere back in 1930 in Burbank, California, this lemon was found on a regular old Eureka lemon tree as a natural mutation, or it's called a sport. And so they took cuttings of that tree and they cultivated them over several years, and what we're left with is this beautiful mutation, this beautiful variation of a Eureka lemon. So it really is truly an American heirloom plant because it was discovered here in America. And the fruit also has some interesting properties. Obviously, the aesthetics of it, the green stripy skin and the pink flesh inside. The skin is a little bit bumpier and rougher. It almost looks like it has green speckles all over it. But the pink color comes from an antioxidant called lycopene. It's the same thing that makes tomatoes red or makes pink grapefruits pink. So, you know, there's a little bit of a nutritional benefit to growing these trees too. I think there's a misconception sometimes that unusual fruit varieties like this one are going to be trickier to grow. But at least for this tree, I can tell you that that could not be further from the truth. And that brings me to my third reason why I think you should grow one too. And that is that they're really easy to care for no matter where you live. If you were to plant this tree in the ground, I would only recommend doing that if you live in zone 9 or warmer. So zone 9, 10, 11. Sometimes you'll see it recommended for zone 8 with some winter protection. But I live in zone 8, zone 8B actually. I live almost in zone 9, and I've had trouble keeping citrus trees alive over cold snaps in the winter. I'm sure it can be done, but I found it really difficult to do. So I really do recommend that zone 8 and cooler that you go ahead and plant one of these in the pot. But the good thing is they are perfect for growing in containers. For one thing, they're almost always grafted, or perhaps always grafted onto dwarfing or semi-dwarfing rootstock, which is going to keep the tree naturally at a smaller size, even in the ground. For another thing, they're also naturally a little bit slower growing than a regular Eureka lemon tree. And that is down to the variegation of the leaves. Because there's less green on the leaves with these big yellow and white patches, that means there's less chlorophyll. And so the plant stores less energy from the sun, and so it grows a little bit slower. Another great thing is that this is a self-fertile tree, so you don't need 2 trees for pollination. The flowers each have the male and female parts, so it can be pollinated by flowers on the same tree. So again, that makes it great if you're pressed for space, or maybe you just have a small patio or balcony. This would be a great tree to grow in that situation. Because of those variegated leaves, I will say this plant is a sun hog. It loves a lot of sun, and that's partly because it's not absorbing as much of the energy. So you really do need to put it somewhere that gets absolute minimum 6 hours, 8 would be better, of full direct sun every single day, and that's how you're going to get the best quality fruit that you can. When you're growing one of these trees in a pot, you will need to fertilize. I fertilize all of my potted fruit trees just because there's less soil for the roots to get nutrients from. And so you have to provide those nutrients. But I will say that this variegated lemon tree seems to need less fertilizer than my other potted citrus trees, especially the Meyer lemon tree, which is a hungry plant, and I fertilize it a lot, and it always seems to be asking for more. This tree seems to get by with a little bit less fertilizer, so that's kind of nice. It's a little bit less effort as you go through the growing season. It does, however, like all citrus, need plenty of water. Now, what that means is the soil, the pot, has to be really well draining because it does not like to sit in soggy soil, but it does like even moisture. So you do have to water it fairly frequently, particularly in a pot in the summer when it's getting a lot of sun. You want to make sure the soil stays a little bit damp, never soggy, but kind of evenly moist. And that way the tree doesn't become stressed out, because the moment the tree becomes stressed out, the first thing it does is drop its fruit, and we don't want that to happen. All right, let's talk about picking these guys. So I mentioned earlier, you can see the green stripes on the lemon. Once it matures and ripens fully, the stripes start to fade, and you can see that right over here. You see how these are just faded a bit, and that's how I know this one is absolutely ready to pick. But the good thing is that I have tried one of these lemons underripe. So over a month ago now, one of the lemons fell off the tree, and I didn't want to waste it. It was still pretty big, so I went inside and cut it open. It still was beautiful. It still had a pretty thin skin, and the flesh was nice and pink, and it was still really juicy. So you do have some wiggle room as far as harvesting goes, but if you want to wait until that peak ripeness when it's extra juicy, the acidity has mellowed out just a little bit, you want to wait until those stripes fade. So let's pick this lemon and then we'll do a taste test. And now we get to perhaps the best reason that you should grow one of these trees, and that is the taste test. So I've got my variegated lemon that I just picked off the tree, and then I also have just a regular grocery store lemon. I have no idea what variety it is. Could be a Eureka, but it's just one that I bought at the store, and I thought we could do a little side-by-side comparison. So first of all, let's cut it open. See, and that is what I'm talking about. You see that beautiful sort of pale pink flesh? You can also see that the skin is pretty thin. It's not too thick. With these lemons, it's thicker than a Meyer lemon. And that's one of the reasons Eureka lemons are so popular in general, is because the skin is thick enough to hold up to shipping. But when you grow them yourself, you can let them stay on the tree a little bit longer and it gets thinner. But yeah, we've got that beautiful pink color. I don't know if you can tell, but I can see that it's really juicy inside, as opposed to a regular lemon, which is also wonderful. So there's our color comparison here. Now, pink lemons are less acidic. Once they've ripened fully on the tree, they're less acidic than a regular lemon is, which is really nice, but not by so much that you can't use it for a substitute for a regular lemon in any sort of recipe. So first, I'm gonna try a regular lemon and see if I notice a difference. It's been a while since I ate a lemon by itself. I love lemon, but it's a lot. It's delicious. I do love it. Okay, now let me try my pink lemon. Oh yeah, there's a noticeable difference. And actually, trying them back to back like that, you can taste a really slight grapefruity flavor. I don't know what that is, a little bit of a berry quality, but it does remind me of a grapefruit. Still tastes like a lemon, but with just that little bit of grapefruit quality. It's completely delicious. So yeah, you can substitute your pink lemon for anything that you would normally use lemon for, but because they're so pretty, I tend to reserve these for things that you're gonna see how pretty the lemon is. So often what I'll do is when I harvest these, I'll slice them up into big, thick, round slices and freeze them flat on a sheet pan. And then I've got frozen lemon slices to put in drinks, in cocktails. Often in the winter, I'll just add some hot water and honey, and I've got a nice tea. And so that way I can see the beautiful pink lemon floating in my glass. I do love doing that. You can make pink lemonade from these lemons. Now the juice is mostly clear. It has a very slight pink tinge. You can tell this is a pale pink. So it won't be like a bright pink you would get from a regular pink lemonade that you might buy at the store. Or one of my favorite things to do is to make a pink lemon martini. It's just a little more subtle than a regular lemon. I love that tartness, but it's just a little bit smoother. So I find that goes really, really well in cocktails. Cheers. Yeah, that's really good. If you've never cooked with a homegrown lemon that you just picked off of your tree, you're kind of missing out. So I hope I've convinced you to try growing a pink variegated lemon tree. As far as where to get one, they are available online. I just looked up and I checked Nature Hills Nursery, which is one of the nurseries that I buy a lot of my fruit trees from. And they do have pink variegated lemon trees in stock right now while I'm filming this. Just one thing to be aware of, some states have restrictions about citrus trees coming into their state from a different state, and Texas is one of those. So if you live in Texas like me, I think it's also California, Florida, maybe Alabama. I might be missing some others, but sometimes there are restrictions because of diseases, and so just make sure you look at a nursery that is in your state, and you ought to be able to find one just fine. For Texans, I recommend Bob Wells Nursery in Mineola. That's a great place, and I know that they have pink variegated lemon trees. So give it a go. Try something a little bit different, grow something that is gonna be a conversation starter and is just gonna make you smile every single time you see it, and especially when you start picking the lemons and you see that pink flesh. Have a little fun with it, make some tasty things, and I'll see you in the next video.